Sum up, why is camp special to you?
Okay, give me a second. That is a big thing to sum up. Some 8 years of coming to camp.
Yeah.
It's the place where I've watched so many people in my life come to Jesus and get to know him more and more every week of the summer that we're here. And I've made friendships that are founded in the Word of Christ. And I get to do all of that while having so much fun every single day.
Here it's like you embrace talking to everyone, and you're in an environment where it's like you're talking to other Christians and you're building connections and you're building off of each other in a spiritual walk with God. And it's like you can talk about God and it's a casual conversation.
You're just talking about God all week long, and you don't get like the whole school setting of it, and you're with your other friends that you made at camp years before, that you come to camp with them every single year, who live like 2 hours away from you, and then all of you are friends and all of you are together for a whole week, just spending time like in the Word.
You really feel elevated, and it's like a whole new level, and you're like surrounded, worshiping, getting the gospel and praying a lot, and you're getting a sermon every single day and night, and you're just surrounded by it.
I met people that are now lifelong friends. I met counselors that will always be there for me, and I could call any time of the day and they'll pray for me and just be there for me. And it just is my foundation. It's where I found Jesus, it's where I found community, it's where I found that other believers will build you up and not just tear you down for not being a Christian.
And you have counselors, staff members asking you how you're doing, and you feel comfortable talking about it, and it's just like, it's such a unique and special place.
So I was really nervous going to camp my first time. I was not a Christian. I didn't really know anything about Jesus, and I came to camp with friends that kind of were Christian, like growing up Christian, but like I really had no experience at all.
Knowing that we have camp every year, because they don't go to church, knowing that they get to come to camp every year and experience what that's like is really nice. Yeah. I always love going to the lake. The lake day is always my favorite. I love doing the tube, I love doing the jet skis. And I really like Big Splash at the senior high camp Monday night.
Yes.
I remember my first year at senior high camp, I was like, what's this on the schedule? Like, why is lights out like at midnight? Yes. That was so much fun, my first time doing that.
Having counselors that like make you get involved and make you have fun even when you don't want to and like feel uncomfortable doing it, like that's my favorite part of camp. And like that pressure that you get when you're called up to do something in front of everyone and it's like, I don't want to do this, and then you have like the most fun of your life. The paddle that I was using, I was rowing so hard and I got stuck on the basketball net, and then I was like trying to yank it and I just flipped over and was like completely submerged in the water, and just like, you need to pull that clip up. It's hilarious.
Activities, always capture the flag. One that I haven't seen in a while, and I stressed to AJ that I wanted it this year, is Noodle Doodle Dash. It was such a fun game, and I know you're like hitting other people with the noodle, but like it was like one of my favorite games there. That dodgeball game we played, glow in the dark, the other year. Obviously it was for the theme, but that was really fun. Meeting new people too, and especially like the people I meet from like last year or the year before or years later.
To compete against people, but then also sit next to them in chapel and love them. It's so cool. The second year I was at camp, I met 2 girls, and honestly, I was kind of jealous of them because all my friends were friends with them and I didn't really know them. And then like towards the end of the week, I got closer with them, and then we started like texting more often, and then saw each other the next year at camp. And now I would say that they're my best friends. Yeah. It's crazy to like meet completely new people that are from such different places as you, and then you can form that connection and build that connection while you're not at camp, and then like get to know them even more when you're at camp.
Almost every single one of my counselors here has encouraged me to journal my prayers. They all love to journal their prayers. I never would have done that if I hadn't heard someone who I look up to. You look up to your counselors when you're here.
Counselors like were my camp experience, looking up to them and seeing them as so cool, but then hearing their testimony and hearing that they're not perfect and that Jesus is the only person that's making them perfect. It's so humbling and it's so cool.
I mean, I had Nikita the longest though, so I got to the level where like Nikita's like my friend, and he genuinely cared about how I was doing. He really stayed connected with me over the years. We talked a lot. Through the counselors, I learned that no matter what and no matter how many times I sin, God is always like willing to accept me, willing to like cleanse me of my sins, and even though I do it a million times, He'll still bring me back, and I'm still His child, and He still loves me.
And they've been through the same things you've been through, and so when you get to talk with them one-on-one and they get to tell you what they went through in their life that matches up with what you went through in life, it makes you feel I'm not alone, and this person is a counselor here, so like they have this godly knowledge, and I can become like that as well.
So Rachel is my counselor, and I just relate to her on a whole nother level that I really don't think that I could relate to anyone else like that. I met with her like multiple times and just had like really long conversations with her, and I learned so much. She's growing too. Like, it's not just me growing in my faith, like she's also learning new things and growing more, and she's said that I've taught her things, which is also so cool. One of the biggest things she taught me is God's timing is perfect. I was really wrestling with that this past summer, and sitting down with her and praying about that, and just learning that everything in my life is happening in the exact way that God planned it. He'll write it out for me. Like, He has it written out. He's had it written out before I was born. Camp definitely taught me about Jesus, and not even just taught me things about Jesus, but taught me who Jesus was.
I grow throughout the year, and then I come to camp and I grow about that same amount in that week at camp that I grew the rest of the year. And every single year, the pastor, my counselor, someone always teaches me something new, and I grow in some way that I didn't even know was possible.
I didn't love worship until I was like 16. I'd come here, and I absolutely started love worshiping after a few years of being here.
Everyone's around you is constantly praying. The Bibles are constantly being opened, like your physical Bible, not the one on your phone.
I used to hate God and I time because I did not know how to do it, and I didn't know how to read my Bible, and now like this past summer, like that was my favorite, and like getting to spend an hour with God and like all the people in your cabin and just like praying and being there for each other, I think that's so cool.
And you go home and you notice the difference it makes in your everyday life, because you're like, wow, this is actually something important, obviously because it came from God. When you're in 8th or 9th grade, like in the high school camp, there's not as many people going up to ring the bell, so hearing her ring that bell and knowing that was her, and knowing that it was me who started it all, like all my friends coming to camp, I was just like, wow. And so when she got saved, we were all sobbing. She was sobbing, all of us was sobbing. We were so happy for her. And then as we were walking back from testimonial, she just started sobbing again because she was so grateful for this place and so grateful for all the people here. From me inviting her to camp, she goes home and tells her family, and then her little sister's now coming to camp.
So that whole week before I was saved was just a really emotional week for me. On Wednesday night, the chapel was about just being saved and living through Jesus, and I just broke down. And I sat with my counselor for like 2.5 hours, and she helped me through the prayer because I really didn't know how to pray. I really didn't know anything to be saved. And then we walked up the hill, and I was sobbing the entire way up, and she was crying too. And I rang the bell, and it was during games, like everyone was playing games, and the entire camp just cheered, and it was, I can't even describe the feeling. It still gives me goosebumps.
Camp did that for everyone. It's insane to think. It really is nuts to think about.
I'm never gonna forget this place. As I said, I'm bringing my kids here. It's insane, like how I got to know this place first, and like how much I've grown after. And I couldn't even imagine what my life or like what my summers would look like without camp. I have new favorite verses. I know much more about the gospel. I know more about God. I have a better relationship with God because of camp that I don't think I'd ever have without it.
Going into it knowing no one, and you come out of camp that Friday with the best friends of your life, and you're crying because you don't want to leave. and you're so connected to your counselors, and you just get to learn so much about Jesus, but also have so much fun and so much competition, and it'll be the best week of your life. It will genuinely be something that you'll look back on and you will not regret one single second of it.